Well, let's join Antony Loewenstein, an independent journalist and author of the Palestine Laboratory, a book on Israel's arms and surveillance industry, joins us from Sydney in Australia. Hello, Antony. Good to have you with us. Before we talk about the forced displacement that President Trump is talking about, can I just bring you into this news coming from Saudi Arabia? There was much talk in that press conference about normalisation of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is part of the Arab League contact group, which made it very clear to the Trump administration that forced displacement of Palestinians was completely unacceptable. Now we've again got it in black and white.
Yes, and I wish I believed those words, though, and let me explain why I'm a little bit sceptical. Over the years, long before October 7 and the genocidal war in Gaza since, many Arab states have spoken about how concerned they are about Palestinians, but how many actually have taken Palestinians in, even as refugees? Now, Jordan and Egypt obviously have many over the years, to be sure, and not treating them very well, by the way. Look, my concern here is that Trump's idea, which, to be clear, is not Trump's idea. This is an Israeli idea put into his ear. Netanyahu knows history, and since 1948, the establishment of Israel, this has been a goal of Israel for decades, to basically remove as many Palestinians from Palestine as possible, incrementally. Happened in 48, happened in 67, may will happen again in the coming years. This is the goal. And the idea somehow that millions of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip would voluntarily go to a neighbouring Arab state, or I might add, last week it was suggested maybe Indonesia, which is the world's biggest Muslim population country, closer to my part of the world, is just an insane idea, not least because it's illegal. But putting that question aside, you cannot have Palestinian self-determination or any kind of Palestinian dignity, or by the way, any kind of Jewish Israeli dignity, and I say this as someone Jewish, when you ethnically cleanse Palestinians. And it's worth saying finally that the idea of removing Palestinians from Gaza is a view shared by many, if not a majority, of Israeli Jews in the deluded belief that that will bring them safety and security, and it's fundamentally wrong and delusional.
Just speaking to our correspondent a short while ago, I talked about the red flags that'll be flying across global capitals at what we're hearing coming out of the Oval Office at the moment in terms of what Trump has said in the past hour. Do you think that there is going to be a pushback by those allies across the world that see themselves as a friend to Israel and a friend to the US?
Well, there certainly needs to be pushback on, by the way, friends of Palestine as well. I mean, friends of Israel essentially includes much of the EU, the US, and many other Western states, including mine, Australia. Now, we're sort of long past critical statements. Where is the kind of action? Now, what could action be taken? Well, in my view, there needs to be serious economic action against the US. If you are, as a state, the US, proposing forcibly or voluntarily ethnically cleansing Palestinians from Gaza. And I should just add here, the fear is this does not end with Gaza. There is a growing Gazification of the West Bank, where Israel's increasing violence and settlement expansion and complete apartheid in the West Bank. I suspect and I fear that the US will support annexation, which has happened unofficially years ago, but maybe will be formalized in the coming months. If the West Bank becomes, inverted commas, unlivable, as Gaza now is, why not remove 3 million Palestinians from the West Bank as well? Now, that's, again, a crazy, insane, illegal idea. But I fear that that is where the Israeli right, Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and a sizable proportion of the Israeli public believe that their safety and security is bound up in removing Palestinians from not just from their eyesight, but from their territory. And it's delusional and wrong. And I think there needs to be massive, not just pushback, but serious retaliatory action on the US and Israel for even proposing this kind of idea.
If that does happen, we'll certainly see that as and when it does. Within the US itself, just the mere notion that the US will go in and take ownership, very clearly stated by the president, of Gaza and redevelop it, is also going to raise those red flags, especially in democratic circles, and those people that warned against what Trump would do if he came into power. And the phrase, told you so.
And this is exactly what he's proposing, by the way, for Greenland as well and elsewhere, that somehow the US has the right to take over a sovereign territory. Now, Gaza is, yes, a disputed territory, but it's also occupied by Israel, has been for many, many years. And this seems to me also a pipe dream of Trump's real estate friends. Yes, the Israeli right that want to bring back settlements and settlers to Gaza, who are kind of waiting on the border to come into Gaza, but also the Jared Kushner, the real estate developer dream of building beachfront resorts on Gaza. For whom exactly? Is that for his rich mates in the Gulf or in the US? Not Palestinians. And it seems to me that we are moving away from at least the feigned idea of a rules-based order, which never really existed. Essentially was what the US wanted, they got. Now we're talking about power politics, where Trump says, I'm going to come and take over Gaza. Israel will agree to that because they see Gaza as a so-called problem they can't solve. But none of this, finally, none of this will bring Israelis or Jews safety or security. It's a delusion to believe that it will. If you remove Palestinians from the equation, Palestinians deserve self-determination and rights, whatever that might look like in practical reality in the West Bank, Gaza and Israel. It does not look like this.
Antony Loewenstein there joining us from Sydney in Australia. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's cross over to